Hi, and welcome to today's Monday Live, where we're going to be talking about academic success, how to set up our children with ADHD to succeed academically. And we have today Eleni Sfiroudis, one of our ADHD coaches that specializes in coaching parents and students with ADHD from the ADHD Advocate. And we've also got one of our referral partners, Louise Burt from English Exam Tutor. Hello, Louise. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And so what we're going to do today, we're just going to have a little chat about how our education system is serving our children with ADHD, or rather not quite serving our children with ADHD, but the thing is how we can best help them operate within it. So without further ado, we'll talk to Louise, and Louise is going to tell us a little bit about what she does to help students, not just with ADHD, but other neurodiverse conditions, how to get them to engage in their learning, because as we know, the fuel for the ADHD brain is authentic interest. And let's face it, the education curriculum, not for all kids, is very authentically interesting. Isn't that right, Louise?
Possibly, yes. I think if a student feels prepared for the exams, that the interest will come. I'm always surprised by parents who feedback and say they look forward to the sessions. They feel much better about it. They're starting to engage with English. And that's not because the content has changed. They're still studying Macbeth for English GCSE, most of them. But it's an understanding of what the examiner's looking for and how they can succeed. Because if they don't know what they're working towards and how to achieve a high mark, the interest will go quickly and they won't reach their full potential. So it's helping students to organize themselves ahead of time and in a strategic way, particularly for a subject like English, which can feel, the content can just feel completely overwhelming. If you're just faced with a Macbeth book looking in front of you, kind of dusting over leading up to the exam, typical about Easter time, before GCSE, students panic and start kind of putting the book in front of them. They don't know how to study. So I'm going to use English as an example, but I'm happy to talk about other subjects as well. English is a core subject. Every student has to do it. Every student has to do English language. Some schools, a minority of schools, will choose to drop literature. Most will have to do literature. So my daughter's in year 9. She's going through options to choosing what GCSE she wants to do. But actually maths, science and English, there isn't much of a conversation around it. You've got to do them. They're compulsory. So for English, I guess, and I'll use Macbeth as an example. So first of all, getting an edition where the font is reader friendly makes a big difference immediately. I'm always surprised by the editions that schools recommend, because the font can be very off-putting. I've been put off with books before purely on the font. So that's step 1. Step 2, a best friend, to the point where I just send them out to every student. There's no conversation about it, as highlighters. First of all, to highlight key information when revising. In the exam, highlighting key words. That helps every student, but it particularly helps dyslexic students, dyspraxic, neurodiverse, ADHD, because it's pinning them down and focusing on a key term. And then what we do, now I've done this for my students, but they could do this themselves. We get organized. I'm the kind of person that has to make myself organized, if you understand what that means. It doesn't come naturally to me. So I have to overdo it. In order to kind of be level playing field for anyone else. Otherwise, I can get very overwhelmed. And I wrote these with my daughter in mind, who has ADD, I suppose you'd call it, and dyslexia and working memory issues. I think, well, as a parent and as a student, what would I want? And so for every text, they've got practice questions, and then they've got essay plans. This, I tell them this is gold dust, they don't realise it. So this is every question that could come up.
Wow.
Keywords, that's really important. Exemplary writing, so they understand the style, otherwise they don't understand what they're working towards. And then context. This hits all of the mark scheme as well. So you can have a student, obviously not mentioning any individual students I work with by name, but a very bright ADHD student who really needs to work on the structuring of their ideas. they can be a little chaotic, brilliant, but chaotic at times. And it's just not hitting the mark scheme. So it can be the best essay in the world, but if you're not talking about context or not analysing language, you're not going to get the mark. So if you could now think about it in terms of all of the GCSEs or A levels, you've got a lot of content to learn. English is closed book. Most subjects are with the new curriculum. As of 2017, they moved it all over to closed book. I don't agree with it, but they did. So getting, obviously, everybody knows about revision cards. I've just given a pack to my daughter with the dividers for science. So she can start getting, as she's learning it, she's putting the content down. It means that it's bite-sized chunks of learning. So once again, it's not overwhelming. I did this for my English finals. I put everything onto the key cards, which seems like it's not possible, but it is. And so you would just take a little one a day and I'd learn it and go back to it and just keep repeating. So you could do that for any subject. And then the final point is students do need to, before the exams, try some exam questions, because you can think you can do it, but until you try it, and then under time conditions a few times, then you know with what you need to work on. So I don't think there's anything especially astounding about what I've just said. I'm probably reminding just everybody of what they need to do, but that's the way I work. I use the word systematic. For a subject like English, I think you have to be if it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, don't you think, Eleni? And I was going to ask for you maybe to share some of the strategies that come up in coaching when you're coaching kids with ADHD, because a lot of what Louise said, definitely these kind of strategies always come up when I'm coaching kids for GCSEs. So yeah, did you want to maybe share?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Louise, her strategies really complement what we do in coaching in addressing how the ADHD brain is works best. And the repetition and sort of removing the question, the uncertainty of what is next with the structure, with the revising cards, with the repetition really makes the revising process go a lot more smoothly. Another thing that I work with my clients on is their time management, because as we know, the ADHD brain can tend to be a bit time blind when it comes to things that are either incredibly authentically interesting, as Louise said, or not. So having a coach to keep them accountable and keep them on track really can be incredibly beneficial in the revising process.
Yeah, and the parents, sorry, Louise?
Is it
time up?
I mentioned this is Steph recommended this to me. Brilliant. I recommend it to all my students. Such a simple thing, isn't it? Just to visualize time going down. Yes. I say this to my kids all the time. I cannot manage time. There's nothing I can do about it. It keeps moving. So yeah, and it makes it, it's this word manageable I seem to be coming back to, just making it manageable. It's not overwhelming. It's like, I'm going to spend 20 minutes today working on learning those quotes, and that's all I'm doing today. Yeah, time management, brilliant.
Yeah. So, and there are a lot of tools. There are a lot of tools that do help our kids with ADHD study, which we do cover in coaching. And obviously, Louise talked about just even like a highlighter, all about narrowing the focus. There are certain themes that Louise brought up that very much ADHDers need in order to succeed, and that's removing ambiguity and helping narrow the focus. Also, we talk about a lot in coaching around getting out of your own way. And that's what we call the body double strategy a lot of the time. And, Louise offers a tutoring group for English that is very much using the body double strategy, that accountability, and also that interest in that there are other people there. And ADHDers, we're quite social creatures. A lot of us, we like to be with other people. Other people sometimes can give us that energy. We want to also, because we're people pleasers, we want to do what everyone else is doing. There's a bit of competition. So you're going to be at your best. So it works really well for ADHD as a kind of group tutoring, group coaching, which we were going to just have a little chat about now. Louise, did you want to talk about your English tutoring group tutoring?
Yes, I offer a kind of membership model, so it covers everything. So we meet an hour and a half a week online to go through all the stuff I've just shown you, actually, but kind of methodically work through the text. I presume school will cover most of the content. I cover the strategy, the exam I'm an exam tutor. And then a webinar on English language. We do supported mocks as well. So the students can get feedback and see how they're getting on in the exams. I also do, talking about kind of overwhelm, very short little tutorials that students can follow each day in a holiday leading up to a major exam for every key text. So they know that day I'm learning quotes from Macbeth. They listen to the tutorial for, I think it's 8 minutes maximum, and then they learn the notes. It's about structure and revision. So it stops overwhelm and it stops anxiety. Anxiety is a big issue.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're going to put in the comments, we'll get Louise to post a link to her website, details of the program. And yeah, look, she's amazing. The program that Louise delivers really does yield excellent, best outcomes for our kids with ADHD from what I've seen as well. So what we're going to zoom out though now in terms of, obviously there's not just English, there are lots of exams, and as Louise said, it is very, very overwhelming for our kids. Often our kids with ADHD come into a coaching session, they feel as if they're completely going to stuff up the exams because this is the first session, obviously, but they've got no oversight, often out of sight, out of mind. You know, they can't hold it all in their head in terms of what they know, and they often will catastrophize and think they know nothing. And so in coaching and in this group coaching program that we will be delivering, we help them get really clear about all the subjects in terms of, you know, their knowledge, where they are, you know, their skills, you know, past evidence, how they've performed before, in order to gauge and get very clear with them as to, well, this is how much kind of more time I'll need to spend studying this type of, you know, this particular subject. And then when we go to help them plan, that's factored in, and then it's all visible and accessible. And like Louise said and showed you, very much the materials as much as possible tangible, really important. It's easier for the ADHD to kind of tackle if it's tangible. But Eleni, over to you to talk about the workshop.
Yes, so on the 10th of February at 7:30 New York time, 12:30 UK time, we'll be offering a workshop for parents to help offer tips on how to help your child set up to succeed on the GCSEs. So we'll be offering you some support tips, as Louise pointed out already, some really clear, specific, and usable study guides and ways that you as parents can support your children to revise successfully, because they can spend all day revising, but if it's not in a meaningful, organized, structured way with a specific outcome that we're looking to achieve, you know, it's going to be for naught. So these are the kind of really successful and specific pointers that we'll be offering that day.
Yeah, and most of all, as well as parent, and we understand how challenging it can be to parent a child with ADHD, particularly during such a stressful time as GCSEs or A-levels. And it can be very difficult if you happen to have ADHD yourself, which we've found a lot of parents don't realize. But we've found that the more you've got the ADHD lens, you can understand where your child's coming from, you can kind of hold that space, then the more likely they're going to be emotionally regulated enough to engage in their learning, because that's really what knocks off, you know, the ADHDers off their perch. Yeah. They can know how to study. We can, you know, Louise can like set them up to succeed. But if at home things aren't going well, yeah, it can all, break down. And we don't want to be doing that. Certainly as a parent, you don't want to be doing that either. So we'd love to help you set them up for success. So do tune in on Friday, the 10th of February. Yeah, Friday, 12:30 p.m. We'll put a link in the comments.
We'll put a link. Yes, indeed.
But Louise, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
We'll speak to you soon. See you next
week. Have a good day.
Bye.